Welcome, everyone. It's me. It's Nick. It's Rab. It's Amico Forever, the ultimate gaming live stream. How is Joey Vibes in the house?
Hey, Joey.
Hey, PJ, what's going on? I just wanted to say, please, everyone, keep civil in the chat as you sign the little disclaimer as you're talking tonight. Be nice to one another. We have zero drama on the show. We are going to talk some retro gaming as we wait for Amico news. What's up, Luke?
Negative drama. We have good times on the show.
Nothing negative. I have a poll going, which is
Luke, hey, Red Rob.
What is the coolest looking 16-bit console? So we have Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, the Turbo Graphics, or the Intellivision.
Are we differentiating between PC Engine and Turbo Graphics, or
I put it as a slash PC Engine,
Japanese?
So both. So if you like the Shuttle Engine, you like the original PC Engine, you like the Turbo Graphics 16, it's all considered one tab.
All right.
I aim to please this time. Yep, exactly, Justy, the Turbo. What's up, Freddie?
Hey, Freddie. See, I would go with the Genesis personally, just because I think out of that round of consoles, I think that's the one that I thought looked the coolest. I think if I was going to pick a favorite from that generation, it's probably still the Super Nintendo, just because I was a big RPG fan back in the day, and they had a lot more
button teeth
that I can recall than any other platform at the time.
Nick prefers his grenades rocket propelled, not thrown.
What's up, Dan?
Yes.
I would agree. I think Genesis had the best design features. I read some stuff about their design. It was very interesting what they did with it. So I like
the original. I like the one that says 16-bit on it with the big.
Yeah, that's the one that I think of.
That's the best.
Genesis, not the second.
What's up, Indie Racing? How's it going over there, man?
Yeah, the second and the third iterations.
I'm going to get this Nat tonight. He's flying around.
They were just basically trying to shrink the console at that point and make it at a more inexpensive price point.
Yeah.
The only thing I would change.
Same with Nintendo with the NES.
Yeah.
I think Intellivision's design for the Intellivision 2, I would say, was actually a good design upgrade for like a redesign of a console. That was one of the few times.
It was. The controllers were good.
It was totally cheaper. They cheapened every possible way. They had to bring the cost down on that system. So I understand, it's much cheaper. The Intellivision 1 I prefer, but just from an aesthetic perspective, I think that is probably the one time that a console did a redesign and I liked what they came up with.
I kind of like the NES redesign. I thought the carts looked funny sticking out of the top, but I thought the controller redesign, that what they call the dog bone controller, looked a lot more comfortable than the original.
I have that one. That's what I was looking for. What's the NES Model 2? I don't remember that one for some reason.
I don't remember that either.
Oh, wait, was that the one that was kind of like domed off and it maybe...
Yeah, it was like a trapezoid. It was like a wedge with a little capsule.
I got a PS2 second
Dr.
model,
Mario capsule at the top. I take that back about the Intellivision being the only one that I like the redesign. The Lynx as well. I think they did a good aesthetic redesign. Although there's not much that they did with it. It's still.
I don't think I saw the redesign of the Lynx. The Lynx always looked. I wasn't into the games on that one as much. They didn't look like something I would gravitate towards. The console was so bulky. It threw me more than a little. I think that's a cool looking redesign of the controller.
It's a cool one, man. I actually like it. You can hold it a little bit nicer, even though there's no shoulder buttons. It feels like it has them, but
Nick, I just get the impression you did not have crisscross pants in like 1992 to like store 12 Lynxes.
I did not.
Lynx eye.
Lynx eye.
I didn't have parachute pants. I didn't have crisscross pants.
Oh, I had parachute.
I had cargo pants.
They're called.
All right, there you go. That's why we
no rockets. Well, thank God, Indie Racing, man. Ugh, no rockets, no bombs. That's a good thing, man. That's a good thing.
Hey, yes, nice.
So we do have a few topics today, and I know one of them is, well, first of all, we got to find out what is everyone playing out there. So chat, let us know what you've been playing and what's interesting. I'd like to see that. Let's see here. What is everyone playing?
I personally gotten sucked back into Vampire Survivors. I decided to buy it on Steam because I played a ton of it on Game Pass. And I'm like, you know what? I kind of want to play the DLC. Let me throw them some money and just pick it up on Steam and do it that way. And so now I have like another 36 hours in that game, which is stupid.
See, I like that type of stuff because, well, what was it? I know I keep mentioning this. Redfall really looked good to me.
That one looks great. I'm looking forward to it. And I need to get to Phoenix Immortal. Because Panda asks me about it every time I see him, and I keep meaning to start it, and I haven't started it, and it's killing me.
Anyways, yeah. So I Rab, what are you playing? I'll let you go first.
You know what? I did not get as much playtime this week as I had hoped to. I played about 30 minutes of Ninja Gaiden, and I'd started a bunch of characters in the original NES Wizardry, and I wanted to make a run and just do some mapping because it'd been 5 years since I made a run of that, and that was enjoyable. You know, just going back into an old game and getting my little group set up and going down in the pit was nice.
Ninja Gaiden's a fun game. Awesome. It's one of those that's good to try to go see how far you can push on a run.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Before you get the living snot kicked out of you.
Yeah, for me, like I beat all 3 when I was younger, and I've beaten 2 of the 3 in my old age now. I just find it's getting into the rhythm, getting into the jump, and getting into, you're learning everything, you're knowing where to expect the enemies, and you just get into those patterns. You don't necessarily have enough time to kind of, remember the entirety of everything, but once you get into your rhythm, I think it really makes up for a lot of the brutal enemy placements and knockback in the game.
Jesty finally beat God of War. I'm not aware of Nova, the one that Indy was talking about. What was the one that Emma had up there? I saw
Golden Axe Warrior.
Golden Axe Warrior. I want to spend some time on that one. I really should. That looks
Rich from Bacon Ice Cream does a bunch of streams on all his progress on that game. I really wanted to get that until I eliminated my Master System and Master System collection, which, maybe one day I'll get into it again. It was just too much. I had too many things going on.
Well, it was their answer to the original Legend of Zelda, and it's a really good game. And
I feel like the movement on it's really weird. I went to play it. And everything on the Master System has
weird movement. Yes.
It's either super fast or way too slow, and I'm like, what is going on here? Something's weird. And Luke mentioned Wind Waker. I love that game.
Mm-hmm.
I like the Wii U version better. I like the map on the control pad a lot better, and they streamlined some of the stuff in the game to make it feel a little less frustratingly grindy and just random hunting and stuff like that. And they also put that they put a new sail in there, which lets you sail much faster, and I don't think you need to change the wind quite as much. But that's a really beautiful game.
Yes. Yeah.
Joust is cool too.
And people were not happy with that game when it came out. They wanted to see the original version of Zelda that was being teased.
Nintendo did that to themselves, though. They showed that more realistic looking Link, and then they came out with Wind Waker.
Yeah. They let people's expectations and then dropped them. But I think it was the right move. I think that art style is really.
I think it holds up better.
It proved itself that it had some longevity, and I also think it was just very different and very very forward thinking in the cell shaded animation that we saw in that era.
Yeah, I think so too. I think if you go back and you look at say Twilight Princess or Skyward Sword or any of those, and you compare it to Wind Waker, I think Wind Waker graphically holds up better than even those, and those are newer.
Yeah, I will be right back.
Yeah, I have Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword, I think. Those were both on Wii, right?
Matthews, you're not going to get me to argue with you on that one. I think Wind Waker is better than Ocarina of Time. I like Ocarina of Time. It was never my absolute favorite Zelda. I know it's most people's. It wasn't mine.
What's that? Ocarina?
Ocarina of Time, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good game.
Wind Waker's better, honestly.
Oh, that's the N64 one, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that and Majora's Mask.
I never went through Majora's Mask because the whole concept of that time limit of 3 days drove me. I didn't even like the idea behind that, so I just skipped that one.
Once I realized that they were doing that with Simon's Quest, like it ticked me off, and then like I had to go back and get the better ending for that. So it intrigues me, but it also gives me like some unneeded anxiety. Like I don't like that the game is putting me in that box of finishing by this time frame, and it's ruined if I don't do what they want by the time. Like I hate when I die in a Mario game because time's up. It's the worst. The worst of all possible deaths is
Valkyrie Profile did that on the PSP. You only had so many turns.
Yeah,
and I didn't like that either. There were a couple things I didn't like about how that game functioned, though, from a mechanical standpoint. So that was kind of a turnoff for me when I got into it.
Yeah, it's not fair for me to say because it might be it's an interesting game mechanic. I'm sure there are people that love it. I just find it very artificially limiting. Yes, that's the word of the day. Artificially limiting, and I find it very frustrating.
I've been playing. Me and I have a thing coming up on Thursday, a premiere playing this right here, which is Twisted, the game show on 3DO, a mixture of full motion video.
You were talking about that last week, I think, weren't you?
And
I was talking about it on Monday's show.
Luke wants to fill a shopping wagon with Breath of the Wild because it's so good. He would go on that on that shopping spree.
Which is funny because I think Luke actually likes the game way better than I did. I just now finally managed to finish Breath of the Wild, and it doesn't even come close to my top 5. My top overall, I think, is Link to the Past.
Yeah, I love Breath of the Wild. It was amazing. I just don't have the time. But DJC, you were talking about
I was saying I was mentioning it on Monday's show. I wanted to say it again. So I did a show that's doing a premiere on Thursday at 8 p.m. So that's tomorrow. And I bought this at a recent pickup, and look at it's even the demo copy, not for resale, meaning it was on display in a store. People got to play it. So I have a very you can only guess who I got to play a full motion video game show with me. It's the Panda Sub 2000.
Surely not Panda, because Panda hates FMV games.
So yeah, you don't know Jack's another one. Yeah, that's no, but so we played this. So it debuts now, mind you. I had someone comment on it, going, "Hey, now mind you, it's it's what it is. It's a 3DO full motion 1993 game." So we ripped it to shreds, made fun of it, all in good fun,
Of course it's going to be rough around the edges
because it's so terrible. It was fun because it was so awful, But with that being said, someone posted on there, "Hey, my dad is the designer of that, and we're both really excited to see the show premiere on Thursday." And I went,
"No,
oh
no!"
And I was like, "Listen, we ripped this pretty good and really make fun of it." And I go, "I hope he has a sense of humor." And I go because it's no malice intended, but just showing how it doesn't hold up, and we really ripped it up. I go, but I will ask you this: if he wants to come on and do maybe an interview and talk about the game or any other games he worked on, be more than happy if he's still talking to us after this premiere, because I didn't want to change it. It is what it is,
you want me to run in the chat and do a bunch of research and comments about how amazing?
Plumbers don't wear ties. That's another one. But yeah, so we had some 3DO things is coming up on Thursday, but that's what I've been kind of getting into and playing.
I was thinking about FMV games today, and I don't know if any of you guys ever had a copy of it. The original DVD of Mortal Kombat looked it was so rough. It looked very much almost like the FMV in some of the early FMV games. The video quality was so bad.
Remember Supreme Warrior where the people are like this in your face?
Yeah.
You're like throwing chops and they're doing this, and it's like all on DVD it's full motion vid on.
Eventually Mortal Kombat got a remaster that was actually really clean and quite nice, but the original one was.
Oh yeah, it would load, and then you'd throw a punch, then it would load, and it's so. It was cool. They were trying because they thought if you.
Are you talking the Master System Mortal Kombat?
I'm talking about the movie.
The loading.
I'm talking about the movie when it originally released.
Yeah,
it came out on like a weird DVD format or a CD format that almost looked like it was an FMV
Yeah, this was
movie.
before DVD when it came out.
Yeah,
this
it was pretty
Was
rough.
it like an interactive
95?
multi-CD or what? 3DO used to play something like that. It was an interactive video disc or something like that.
Yeah.
It might have been what it was.
It was before they made DVDs. I know that. I used to know what it was too. I can't remember. It's something like that though. I know what you mean.
Yeah, the compression and storage were just not there for that.
Yeah, I mean,
you had to have that giant laser disc at that point to get all that.
Yeah,
that's I mean, look at Dragon Player, Space Ace, stuff like that. They had the giant laser disc player, and that was in the 80s. You know,
when they originally brought out Mortal Kombat on like PlayStation and all that, one of the limitations I think they had, if I recall right, was like when they, especially Mortal Kombat 2 and like 3. I think 3 was the first one to hit on that gen of console. Like Shang Tsung couldn't really change into every character. He could only change into the character he was opposing. And they did that because of load times, because they'd have to access the disc to read the other characters in order to load it up, and it would cause too much of an interruption in gameplay. So they limited him to just what was already loaded into memory.
Yeah. They could have just been like a boy in his blob. He just turns into a jelly bean or a ladder or something. Something easy.
Right.
So they don't have to load all that stuff. Yeah. Yeah, they should have just done it on a laser disc. I get the feeling with like the way they were going after Laserdisc in the early 80s, like everybody was singing the praises of like Laserdisc is the next big thing. Laserdisc is going to be like the next evolution of gaming, and it just never became. And I feel like to some extent it's like, I think VR is much more capable than what Laserdisc ever could have been, but I feel like VR maybe right now it's still too early. It's still a step too far. I think there's too many eggs being put in that basket. I saw stuff like Apple was looking at everything.
I never played.
I think it's like the Laserdisc of our era.
Yeah, I feel like
Virtual Boy just a little better. That's all, right?
No, it's not Virtual Boy.
I feel like VR as a whole leans
that's real VR
into stuff like rhythm games because it's an easy translation.
Yes.
And so there's so many of those out there, and they're really good. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, they were
some cool, like neat original stuff like Super Hot, stuff like that that's come out, and some good overall experiences. But what I find is weird is what always throws me is like, say, Subnautica will do VR as well,
John.
But you're still using the keyboard. Well, I feel like I'm putting on a blindfold and trying to use my keyboard when I'm playing Subnautica in VR because I still need to be able to find the keys. And I find subconsciously, even if I'm not paying attention to it, I'd look down to find certain keys a lot of times on my keyboard. Right? So when I'm playing it in VR, I'd be constantly like lifting the headset up to find a key, hit the key, and then pull the headset back down. And it's just not a good fit for me. Same way with a controller. I find it awkward to use a regular controller in VR.
I don't want to knock Laserdisc. I don't want to like knock VR. I just feel like there's just been so much heavy like enthusiasm for it, and I don't see it materializing in the same way. So I think like with VR, they need to figure out more game types that really work in that in that spectrum and just open it up to a bigger audience. That don't make people sick, that aren't so. It doesn't have to be as immersive. It can be sort of, just it can be fun and boxy. I mean, I know there's a big emphasis on graphics, and like with what Meta is doing, it's like, well, these graphics are from like 1904. They're that dated. They don't have to be that dated, but I think there's got to be a medium in there where some of these games can work. And I've seen some examples that I've seen videos of. I don't know. We'll see over the next couple of years how it develops, but.
There would be certain games that would be great, like Spider-Man, but I don't want to play Spider-Man in VR because
no,
I will throw up. There's no getting around it. I will get sick.
No, you'll just sit there and like shoot webs. Just watch yourself like, this is awesome.
I'll admit that would be dope. I'd be like, and then
I need my wireless VR to just go down the street doing this.
I loved on the newest Spider-Man. This is one thing I did think was cool is when all three of them are talking and they all look at the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. They're like, so it's just like fluid that comes out of you. He's like, yeah. He goes, do you like think about it? Like I'm gonna shoot a web and then the whole like talk between the three of them about him being the only one that it actually shoots out of his wrist from his body. and them just asking like, that's so weird. Like, so how do you know? Do you make more? Like, where does it come? Like, how does it? It was just the funniest thing ever, dude.
And the initial reaction.
Don't explain the magic. Don't.
Yeah, he's like,
Foreman.
He's like, I make mine. Like mine's like mechanical. It's like I go like this. Like I had to learn how to use it.
Metachlorines? I don't remember.
Yeah. Oh my God. Let's not go.
Oh God, are we going to metachlorians now?
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
No, let's not.
No, I'm just saying, don't explain how it works. Don't explain the Spidey magic.
Yeah, you start doing that. So ultimate
he just
game
reached
rooms.
the age things happened. Okay, it's natural process.
Ultimate game rooms.
Just go with magical space wizard. It's fine.
Yes.
We had people. We had a couple people email. I was saying last time or last week, I should say, was ultimate game room pictures. If you had some, so if you know retro dude Carl Young, that's always in here, he had emailed. Yeah. He was one of the guys that did sent some pictures of his game room. So I'm gonna pop it up here. Let's see, we're right here, and so yeah, look at this. He's got some arcades going. And he's got a couple little countertops, a Frogger, a Mizpak, Galaga, got a Neo Geo. Got some one-ups over here on the, what is that, like a Jason clock? That looks cool. Oh, I had that Pong table.
Yes.
I got rid of it, but it was actually.
Why does he have a Street Fighter? Why does he have Street Fighter 1 and a Street Fighter 2 CAD? That's kind of weird.
Well, no, that's one of those one-ups where it has the.
Oh, is it an arcade one-up? Okay, got it.
Yeah. Crash Bandicoot, pretty cool. Oh, I like the Dig Dug and Asteroids and Qbert arcade
artwork.
Marquees.
Yeah,
that's pretty sweet.
The Sonic artwork's cool. The plushie collection's fun.
Ooh. Oh, I see an Intellivision flashback and an Atari VCS and a mini Commodore 64, and then center stage a Sega Dreamcast. Nice. Oh, I love the Pac-Man decor. Love it. Got a nice CRT. It looks there. That looks like Evercade.
Samus poster too. That's pretty dope.
Oh, some Amico games back there.
All right, don't cut away. I don't want to be drooling.
Yeah. Oh, the mini. Let me get this banner off here. Actually, that'd probably be
Legend Spinball.
And
yeah, a little mini. I heard those were pretty fun though. Oh, here we go. There's a little CRT there.
It does.
Got all three. Got the 2600, 52, and 78. Nintendo. There's the Intellivision flashback. Nice stack of overlays. Sega Master. Dream. Xbox, PlayStation, N64. What is that? Xbox.
Got a 360 on there as well.
360.
A slim PlayStation 2, and it looks like, is that a PlayStation 3?
I think it. Yeah, I was wondering was it because I have a slim PlayStation 2. Yeah, this guy's got a ton, man.
All right. So we are all going to Carl Young's house for a sleepover, right?
Yeah,
right? We're doing this chat.
I love that. Okay, I love this is the scoreboards of how high scores on all the games that he's been playing.
Got a chalkboard.
That is cool for your arcades and for your I think that's so sweet. That is awesome. We also had another person, and I think we might know this guy. I think this is the original Next Level Gaming.
That guy? I don't know that guy.
Mike sent in some pictures of his retro setup. So let's.
Yeah, we don't know that guy. Yeah.
I want to see Richard
we don't know that guy.
Game room.
Well, normally he's sitting right here.
Yeah. So you don't often see the chair because he's like.
I know. I this is the first time I've seen that. Look at this setup, though, man. Look at the amount of.
I've seen some of those shelves in the background.
And Sega CD at 32X.
What is that system on the top?
Well, it's either PS1 or there it is, closer. Well, is that Turbo CD, PC Engine on next to this Amico things? And there you got some Xbox, a lot of Xbox, some 360, all those newer style consoles that you guys are always talking about that I never know what it is.
The newfangled consoles with their
CDs
and their tiny laser discs.
Dreamcast, I love the Dream. Oh, hey, what's that Knight Rider looking console? Oh, wait, that's an Amico. Look at the Knight Rider Amico, man. I love the red light when you set it to do the red swirl, and it literally looks like Kit. There it is right there. Are those speakers on the top on the sides? That's pretty cool if it is. It looks like speakers.
Yeah,
I think those might be shelves.
I mean, they're kind of both. He's got a Sonic up there, too. That was cool, man. There's
nothing supporting them. I think they're speakers.
Nice. That is cool, man. I bet it sounds cool, too. Well, we're all going to Mike's after Carl's. We're just going to keep...
We're just run the rounds.
We're just going to go from like location to location.
Yes. It's a traveling road show. We're all invited. I'm sorry, guys, but yeah, make some room.
You send in pictures. We're now invited. That's just how it works.
What's everyone now? And I'll ask this. Put this out for the chat too. Well, let's find out from chat first. I want to know, like, what would your ultimate game room be? Like, would it be CRTs, flat screens? What would be your main focus? Like, what would be right on front of the couch for you? What would be your first system? What is your ultimate game room? What is that going to be? Mine would probably be to have at least 5 CRTs, which, in a line. I'd want my 3DO. I want my Sega Genesis, a Super Nintendo, Turbo Graphics, PC Engine. I want all my 16-bit stuff and 3DO on CRTs. To be honest, I will say this: my original Intellivision, I'd rather have it on a flat screen. I think it cleans up the edges to have it look like more. I know most people are like, no, that's got to be played in a CRT. I don't mind Intellivision on a flat screen. Yeah, like statue of Miyamoto giving me a high five.
The number of pixels and resolution on those old Intellivision or Atari, I don't think it makes so much of a difference. I think once you get to Super Nintendo and Nintendo, Sega Master System, TurboGrafx, then you do start to see where they were trying to make more detail and depth with the pixel art, and it doesn't work as well if you don't make the adjustments.
Correct. But yeah, that's
I play very often on a flat screen, and I don't mind. I know I'm missing out. It's a little bit of a downgrade. It's a little bit of a, the characters don't look quite as fleshed out as they should be, but I'm fine with it. It plays well enough. It looks well enough. It's a really good facsimile.
Yeah. N64 and PS1 as well. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, basically everything up
until 36-incher.
Everything up until the early 2000s really works.
Casey says, I'm working on my room, but I have almost every mainstream console since the Odyssey 1. Right now, Rab's got some custom games for you. Right now, I have 15 TVs with 2 to 4 consoles on each TV, thousands of games, and an area dedicated to VR. Oh, that's pretty awesome, dude.
All right.
You know what? I saw
Carl
someone
Young, your house, about 4 months after we are chased out of Casey's house.
Yeah, we're going to Casey's for sure. 1-inch biceps. I went with TurboGrafx, more for the Duo. Yeah, dude. The Duo was the Turbo Duo, especially the North American. I got the Japan version, but it's a beautiful looking machine. Need the curved CRT for the light gun games, lack of processing. Yeah, the light gun, True. Of course, like Duck Hunt and Hogan's Alley and all that, all the old stuff, actually. Unless you get one of them Sinden light guns, which does, hey, Kurt, what's happening?
I kind of want to get a cabinet set up that has those. I need to set up the first one that I've got first and get that done. And then once I kind of have a better idea of what I'm doing, I kind of want to work into one that uses those Sinden light guns.
Yeah.
Just so I can load something up to play some of those, because I kind of miss being able to go back and play some of those games like that. But you're right. They don't really work outside of a CRT.
I've got a small 19-inch for it. I almost never play them.
Projector TV work with a light gun?
I don't think they work. No. I think that it's the actual CRT itself. That
so you have to have the cathode ray tube actually emitting that flash for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And see, I would probably go with like the old, because I had one of those cheap Sanyo 25-inch CRTs back in the day. Mm-hmm. And those things were great so long as you didn't put speakers next to them because they weren't shielded for crap.
Yeah.
The colors went like very funky.
Rainbow bright.
Oh, it went so bad.
Like
so bad, so fast. It was not a good scene.
Awesome.
But I would love to have like a 25 or 32
TV and lava lamp
like
in one
CRT, someplace where I would never ever move it again. Because I had want to say my first 30-inch 1080p TV was a Samsung, and that thing was easily 100 pounds if it was an ounce. Oh my god, it was so hard to move.
There was one my cousin gave me. It was a Sony. It wasn't a Trinitron. It was a black Sony towards the end of like the CRT times, and it was a 36-inch CRT. And I had it down here, and forever I wasn't using it. And I went to move it upstairs, and we went. You
need two people.
No, listen to this though. We went to pick it up, and the plastic in the back was it's been heated up and cooled down so many times over the years.
No,
it was so brittle. It was like picking up a gingerbread house. It was like, it just disintegrated, and I was like, no, no. The tube didn't break. It hit the floor, but the tube didn't break. But I was like, it's done. Like, it didn't work after that. N64 is a little overrated.
I wish Mr. Matthews wasn't so vague with how he felt and just put it out there.
I'm not. You know what? I loved the N64 when it came out. I don't have. I have one, and I went back to play it, and I don't feel. I think it was in between those eras where the polygons were starting up, and it was. I don't know. It's just that in PS1, certain games, not all of them, but it's that. And when they started doing the 3D on N64 and PS1, it was just a little.
It was a little early for 3D.
It was. It doesn't hold up. It doesn't hold up.
It was a necessary step to get people to kind of start pushing into that medium.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it now. I wanted to like it so much then. I just didn't like it as much. I didn't appreciate the move to 3D at the time. And I think I would have if it didn't feel like everything was moving to 3D. All platformers were being abandoned in like a very short period. And platformers were getting overkill. I fully acknowledge that. But it just felt like, all right, this is how we're going to do gaming now. This is gaming.
Yeah, they still became overkill though, because they all moved to 3D platformers, which were just
that was not
everywhere for like 2 gens. Like PS1, PS2 had a ton
divergent.
of
it's not platformers. It's different. A platformer was a certain thing. Now we're like, okay, this is a 3D platformer. Okay, so you have platforms, but a strategy game or jumping game, you still have platforms. It doesn't mean it's not the same kind of platformer that like dominated the 80s and early 90s.
Yeah. And a lot of those types have started to make comebacks along with like Metrovanias or like the
definitely.
Well. But a lot of those have made comebacks.
Indie darlings. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, if it's not like a roguelike or a Souls-like, it's a Metrovania.
But a lot of those indies were a response to you had older developers that didn't like the way things were going, and indie was their outlet to be able to make the games they wanted to make. And a lot of smaller teams that weren't, with AAA taking over everything and pushing people out, indie became the place where you could make this stuff. And the way you could do it was, the games that group of developers grew up with were 2D platformers, so they gravitated towards it, and it's a resurgence of it, and it's beautiful.
Yeah,
it is overkill.
And I love seeing the modern animations especially with like the 16-bit graphics, because stuff like even Blasphemous, which I've been leery about jumping into because it's very much a Souls-like kind of game, but with 16-bit graphics, has some of the most beautiful pixel animation I've seen since like Street Fighter 3, which still I hold up as some of like the best in pixel animation ever. That game's just beautiful.
Banana controller.
To go back to Luke's question or Luke's statement where he said you go back from a modern viewpoint looking at a retro game and you can't look at them the same way. You can and you can't. The N64 and the original PlayStation hit at a time where we were very rapidly trying to go into 3D. But if you go back and you look at like 8-bit and 16-bit, those hold up really well today, I think, aesthetically, because of the pixel art. Early 3D is just rough polygons kind of thrown together, which admittedly, that's what we could do back then. There's no shame in that. But that's what they could do.
Now, what about your Amico stuff with polygons, or your Star Fox with polygons on the Super Nintendo?
And even Star Fox is pretty rough around the edges when you go back and play it. I still like it. It's a lot of fun. same way I go back in Mario 64 is a lot of fun to go back and play, but it's aesthetically not as pleasing as some of the stuff that came before it and after it.
Yeah, I think Star Fox,
as far as that look goes,
I think Star Fox holds up better because they were, they could do very limited with the polygons, and there was still a lot of 2D animation in there as well. So there's still nice character animations and stuff. It's not like with Final Fantasy VII where you're dealing with like, bowling pin hands. So you've got
the original Final Fantasy VII I played later on, a couple gens later, and that game is so hard to go back and play in a lot of ways. The original one, mind you. And the reason is because the screen design will have 3D movement, but will look flat. And it's very confusing to navigate certain things.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Yeah, you gotta put your head back in that space.
Yeah, it's just like if I was playing it back when it originally came out, it probably wouldn't be a big deal. But trying to go back and trying to understand the stage layout and where you can move and where you can go up and what's above you and what's below you is very, very hard when it looks flat, but it doesn't act like a flat texture.
So I wanted to ask you guys, because we got I think there was a little bit you guys were talking about the game room and looking at Carl's and looking at Mike's game room. I'm very envious. And then Casey just bringing up his 12 billion games. I'm not jealous. But I will find you, Casey.
He's totally jealous.
Are there certain things in a game room that you guys would love to have, like maybe not your holy grails, but if you could put anything or something to define what would make your perfect game room, what 3 or 4 things would you want to add?
Well, I think a CRT is kind of a must. I mean, high-end CRT. I would still play most things up. I'd still probably play most things on a flat screen. I'm with you, Rob. I'm so used to doing emulation and things like that the older games on an LCD is fine to me. I do it all the time. I do it on like a Steam Deck. I do it on a TV and on a monitor. It doesn't matter. But I think for some of the old things that you really do need like a CRT. And there's a couple things I'd love to have a couple like specific arcade cabinets, I think. Just one, because they look cool, and just because of the feel and nostalgia of it. You know what I mean? Like, even though I could play the XMen Arcade on a flat screen or on a CRT, I would love to have like the big 6-person cabinet.
Yeah.
Even if I couldn't get 6 people to play, just having one would be amazing. You know what I mean?
3 cabinets you guys have to have real quick, right off the bat. What 3 cabinets do you have to have in your rec room?
You talking about arcades?
Arcades, and you've got a lot of them.
Yeah, I was gonna say I have to say stuff I don't have. I think it'd probably be one that you mentioned last week, which would be Fire Truck, because me and my cousin played that all the time. Exactly, Crunch, and I also would do. I would probably do Super Punch Out, because I had a Punch Out and I got rid of it and I regretted it, but I really want Super Punch Out, the dual monitor one. And then I would probably do another pinball, which would probably be either Cyclone or Hurricane, which was the roller coaster style 80s kind of Williams pinball. I think that would be what I'd really want. I wouldn't mind getting, and I'll even add another one. I wouldn't mind re-getting a Spy Hunter. I used to have one, but it had issues, so I sold it.
It's on my short list.
I wouldn't mind if I could fit it. Marvel vs. Capcom is awesome too, Sneed. If I could fit a sit-down one, which I could never get down my steps, it would be a sit-down Spy Hunter. Would be epic.
See, I think mine, if I could just say have them and I never had any mechanical problems with them. There was this, I cannot remember the name of this cabinet. It wasn't quite Afterburner.
Ooh, nice, Cindy.
You got into this like main cab, and the thing would move forward, back, left, right, etc. As you moved. I would love to have something like that for like some sort of flight simulator. I think that would be amazing. The XMen Arcade is kind of like a given. And then I'd say probably some form of flight game, maybe something like Time Process, because I thought that pedal motion that they did with that was like a really cool mechanic. Something like that I think would be probably the three main ones that I would probably want in there. And that's barring any mechanical difficulties with the thing that I wouldn't have to fix. Because, the one that moves and had the starship and all that thing, there's no way in hell I'd ever want to maintain that. It would just be awful.
Yes, you would. You learn.
Remember Radmobile.
Rad Rodmobile. So I go with so fire truck. So that since that one was already there, that's a freebie. I think I'd go with Gauntlet as like the 4-player game.
That's a really good one. Great. That's a great game.
And just on a track mode, telling people that they need food. Red Warrior is hungry.
Dude, I played so much of that in the arcade,
Red Warrior needs like child protective services to come help him. Come check in on him.
Dude, I think I'd opened up like big head mode on like every character in the game by the time I got to playing it, and like their alternate versions that were like the bird and lion head and all that too. I spent so much money on that game. It was dumb. Yeah. So much money on that game.
That was one of the few arcade games that I would spend my quarter. When my mom would drop me off to, kind of hang out in the arcade for a while in the mall, I would not spend much money on arcade games. I just like watch other people play and be that kid that's just like taking it all in. Save my money for toys and video games. But I would play Gauntlet. I would play a couple of games. Spy Hunter was another one. Jackal was another one.
Jackal with the
Defender. Yeah. There's a few. I don't know if I'd get a Defender or a Crystal Castles, but I would definitely get an electromechanical game. There is an old electromechanical game called Untouchable, and it is like a 1930s gangster era where you can drive.
Nice.
You've got a steering wheel, so you can drive a police car, and you've got a gun, so you can shoot at the gangster car swerving around in front of you, and it's shooting back, and it's flashing, and you're driving all through the city. I love old electromechanical games, and I know I'd be pouring time into upkeeping it, but it's so worth it.
Yeah. I think that was it. Don't Shoot the Dog one, the one that had the bear that would like rear up and turn and all that. I'd love to have one of those too, because I think it's really pretty.
Yeah, the bear.
There's something about those electromechanical games, especially the really early ones with the wood cabinets, that are just beautiful to look at.
Yeah,
I got rid of a Tempest, Dan. I had one, and I had it for about 2 years. I got it pre-pandemic and got rid of it just after early 2021. I loved it and it looked beautiful, but I played it, to be honest, I played it a few times, and after a while it started getting moved more and more to the corner and more stuff. It wasn't getting played. And because they're so valuable, I was like, I'll take the money instead of having it sit there, and those vector monitors, like once they go bad too, that's another thing I was scared of. Is I luckily got one that had a good vector monitor in it. And I had it repaired when I first got it because I got it for super cheap. I got this thing for like $300 in a lot of stuff, and I had one of my techs work on it. One of my buddies that's a tech, and they worked on it and got the monitor, fired up. Everything was just a power thing issue. The monitor was beautiful. Everything was adjusted, and I was like, what if one day, I'm just sitting here not paying attention to it after a couple of years, what if one day this monitor goes out and I have to spend $800 to get a new monitor to make this thing even valuable? I'm like, I'm going to sell it now for a couple grand and be done with it. But Tempest is a beautiful looking game. And if I didn't care about having the money instead of looking at it, sit there and not get played, then I'd keep it. But
you made the right call, but that is the price you pay for a life of regret.
Yeah.
Well, I did that with. The thing I did that with was my Punch Out machine. But I will say this: I got a Golden Tee upgraded flat screen Golden Tee one, which I think I got it a while ago, so it's a 2018 is what I have, which is fantastic. It's still the same game engine until the new PGA Tour, but it's it gets played way more, and I have more people having a great time on that than ever did Punch Out. Unfortunately, I love playing it, but like it got to the point where, after a while, even I stopped for a bit. But I didn't want to get rid of it. But I was like, I could upgrade my Golden Tee, the thing that everybody plays, or just let that sit there. And I'm like, I'll get it again. And then of course, it's the cost of that is like $4,000 now. I'm like, I will not be getting that again until like
you make it in. And some people had actually asked, at least one person asked, what did you think about having physical games in a game room, like say skee ball or air hockey or pool?
I'd love a skee
ball.
I
think those are totally acceptable and fine.
Yeah.
I like all of those.
A dartboard.
Dartboard, obviously. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'd want the dartboard facing away from my cabinets and stuff, but
I don't think I'd want a rec room to just be a game room. I think I'd want it to be a place where a lot of people can come in. I'd want to have a bar there. I'd want to have, maybe not game-related artwork, but maybe like game-inspired artwork, like the old watercolor art that we know from in television and Atari and the Studio 2 and Odyssey, all that era. I'd want to see maybe a commission artwork that's something a little more meaningful to me, but of that style. Like that would be nice.
They make them now where they're
Red Baron's awesome.
Neon. But some of those light ups and stuff like that, and get some of those made, because there's places that do custom ones of those now. That
light up what?
Looking at of like almost like neon lights. It's neon fluorescent lights and stuff like that. The ones that used to hum all the time. They were I've seen one of those made with like the Breath of the Wild symbol. I've seen one with Pac-Man and Mario and Sonic and all those. I would love to have like a couple of those and have those set up in like the arcade area, though more in the more modern LED style that they've been doing. That way they're not as hard to take care of, because sometimes the fluorescent ones will go bad, and they also make an awful lot of noise. It'd be nice to not necessarily have that extra noise level in the room and that kind of stuff.
It's just a low hum.
Yeah. You may not hear it with all the cabinets on, but still.
Yeah.
But I'd love to have some stuff like that. I think if I set up like a pool table, what I would probably do is they do a set of Mario lights as opposed to having like a billiard light. I'd like to have the Mario light with like the question block and like the two regular blocks that would shine light down on the bottom of it. I think that would be a neat little twist on the whole thing. Stuff like that. I love the idea of having stuff like that in there. I used to love to play pool as a kid. Matter of fact, I'm looking to get back into it this year. I bought a buddy of mine a cue stick for Christmas, and I just bought myself a new one. So I'm going to have two really nice ones to play with. The one that I bought ages ago that's still really good, plus my new one.
I was trying to upload some of my stuff. What's up, Atari Creep?
What's up, Atari Creep?
And Silly Club member.
You know what I would love to have, and this is not game related, but I mean, kind of, because it's old arcade. This is going back to like 1890s, 1900s arcade. So this is going back a ways. They used to have those like the little peep show mutoscopes that you can look in and you can crank and you can watch a scene. I mean, think about like
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it was kind of like the precursor to the little slide thing we used to have as a kid.
Yeah, but these would have like 700, like a scene, like a video. It's like 700 slides.
Yeah, it was just a bunch of stills
crank it to make it go.
You can
crank it to make it go through animation, and it's like 700 slides. So it's like 2 minutes of animation.
Was this like that? They have like Disney ones.
Well, that's a real master. That's a Viewmaster. Yeah, that's a Viewmaster.
I'm talking one that was like did movies. It did movies on it.
Yeah, that's a Viewmaster as well. My kids have both of those, my old ones. So there was a movie one.
I used to have bubble hockey.
It had cartridges that you can put in, like a long.
Yeah, that's the one I had. Exactly. I tried
to
make it a projector. I tried to put a light through it.
Yeah, but with a mutoscope, it's like an early version of before television and before the movies. They'd have like 700 stills, and it would be like a scene that you can watch, and you could see like scenes from around the world. You could also go. They had peep shows, so you can watch things that were more adult oriented. That's why arcades kind of part of why they had a seedy reputation. I'd love to have one of these, except I take so many pictures. We have so many family videos. I'd love to take some of those family videos and cut them up into like mutoscope style and have people like just be able to come and see, like, instead of sending videos to family, like come and look in this thing and watch my kids play at the beach or watch, our trip to Montreal. I just think it'd be an interesting kind of centerpiece when we have people over for they're in the rec room and there's all these games and fun stuff there.
And my preference is pool. I never really played a lot of snooker. I think I tried playing it one or two times, but I was always more into pool, and I'm bigger into 8-ball than I am 9-ball personally. 9-ball seems like a good way of having a good run, flubbing it up at the last second, and somebody just having to down the 9-ball. So 9-ball always drove me crazy because I was that guy that would be great for like 5-6 shots, and then somebody else would be able to just easily take out the rest of the table. The shot. So I was always a bigger fan of 8-ball for that reason. Because I was that guy, that would shoot himself
I saw one of those.
Second.
On the pier.
And somebody else actually mentioned, speaking of arcade games, somebody else mentioned a holographic Sega game, and that would have been Time Traveler. I had to look it up. I played this thing as a kid, and it was amazing.
Yeah, Indie Racing was talking about those. The Time Traveler.
It's an amazing looking arcade. It's not much of a game,
and they're expensive.
But it's really cool looking.
I wouldn't, if I could ever got a hold of one of those, I would definitely hold on to that. Because that would just be, it's like a part of history, man, where they just tried to do something like that. I think there was
a really cool idea to try.
Oh, look at the Zoltar.
Oh, there's a Zoltar card.
They have one in
Ocean
Beach, which I think is now ruined because it's
I'm not alone with 8-ball.
Casey's
with me on 8-ball.
Mine's a Playland from Rye, so
nice.
And the nice thing about 8-ball is you can split it and have 3 people play, and then you can each choose so many, and you can split it up even more. So I like it that way.
To take shekels now. That's awesome, man. Speaking of awesome, it's shekels, schneckles, schmiggles. It's like snooker is tough afterwards. Fun to anyways, building.
Honestly, if I could find a snooker table, I would probably try it more, just to see if I could get a feel for it. But it's not a game I ever got a good feel for. So I don't have a strong opinion on it.
Building a dream controller. Oh, Atari, man. Thank you.
There we go. Hey, thanks, Atari Creep.
For the $5 super chat. Smash that.
We're 53 minutes in, and now we're going into the arcade controller. Oh, my God. This is going to take a while.
Thank you, Silly Club member.
It's going to be a long stream. We spent like 50 minutes talking about arcade.
Yeah, I was going to say. Mega
you.
Building a dream controller. I will go really quick on this, but I wanted to draw this out, but I've been so busy up to what I was doing at the show. Crystal says darts is fun. Would love. I have 2 Valley Cougar dart boards, like the ones from the 90s, which is the ones I used to play all the time when I went out. So I have 2 of those against my back wall. I was trying to upload. Let me see if I can get it. I don't know if it's not working. I was going to change the backdrop. You can see. Oh, you can't see. That's the part coming down my basement where I have the Silver Strike and the Golden Tee, but we're covering it up. But anyways, yeah, what was I saying before I got into this thing?
You were talking about your dream controller. You're going to be quick. You wanted to sketch it, but you didn't have time.
Yeah, no. What I was going to say is I would have it to where it would play once again, because I'm an Intellivision fan, I would have a number key in the center, or even like a touchscreen with or something like that modern, like kind of like the Amico controller has. I would do something in the center so you could play ColecoVision, Jaguar, 7800. Was it 52 and 78 that had those? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes,
so you could play basically every retro console up to the Jaguar with the number pad in the center. Then I would do probably either like a flat disc and a analog stick and a D-pad on the left. So you have all 3 of those. Obviously your shoulder buttons, and then probably a 6-button and turbo switches on the right. So that's mine. I think that would be cool.
So how do you handle your Fairchild Channel F? Because you had a plunger. You can go up and down and move.
Unfortunately, I guess I won't be able to play that.
There you go.
You thought I was going to be like, add a dial and a plunger. Nope.
See, I had 2 schools of thought on this. One is a little bit more accessibility focused, which I've done a video on, and there's been a little bit more play on that lately because PlayStation's kind of throwing their hat into the ring. Yeah, I need to do more videos like that, quite honestly. I liked doing them because I learned a lot about accessibility that I didn't know. Because I wrongly assumed that if you had one type of disability, this type of controller would work for that disability, but that's absolutely not the case.
Every disability is a spectrum, and as far as access is concerned, it's not defining. It's
right. It's absolutely not. And
the individual can have all level of access or need that needs to be addressed, and one size does not fit all.
It does not in the slightest. So my first one is more just kind of like a personal preference kind of controller, and let me pull it up here. I think I've actually, I've got a couple pictures of it here. So let me share my screen because this is similar in idea, but I would modify this heavily. So let me present share screen because I've got one of these coming in on Friday, and I'm kind of looking forward to it. So if you can pull that up. Oh. So what this is Victrix, which is a third-party arcade controller designer that's now going into a gamepad. And so what they've done is they have made a modular gamepad. And I like this idea and would like to expand on this, mostly because this allows for both left-handers and right-handers to be able to play and not need a specialized controller, which is something that's also often overlooked. People that are left-handed often have problems. And these things pop out, turn around, and move any which way they want, so that you could set it up for left-handed or right-handed, and you can also set it up as a fight pad, which is kind of a really cool idea because these sections pull out, and the D-pad can also change to a normal cross or a recessed one. There's various different heights and gates on this as well to help out. I like the idea of this kind of modular design. I got some stuff that does this already. The Xbox Elite controller touches on this a little bit. But what I would add is something like what Chuck was saying, like a touchpad or something that could either be under here and act as just a touchpad when it's underneath, or be used as a screen if you flipped it out. That way you could use it like a number pad or something like that if you wanted to. And you could access things that way. This also works can also have wireless turned off, so it functions specifically as a wired controller. And it has 3 modes for not only...
What are those? What are the circles on the top?
What do you mean the circles on the top?
Third ones? Are those like a disc kind of circle?
Are you talking about these?
Gasket? On the bottom?
That's just a gasket on the bottom.
This right here is just like the different gates and stuff to change on this cover. Okay. And these are the different analog sticks, like different heights that you can use into different D-pads. So I like the idea of being able to do something like this and being able to do that. So that's kind of where my headspace would go, that we'd have some more flexibility with the touchpad and some of the, because I missed the Wii U display screen as far as having my inventory or my map. The other thing that I would like is to have the microphone used, have the mic that's on a lot of the controllers used more for relaying data. Like if somebody's phoning you, instead of having it come through the main speakers, have it come through the controller, that kind of thing. Because the Wii U did a great job with that with Lego City Undercover. So stuff like that being worked into a controller is kind of where my headspace goes. As far as an accessibility controller, I would love to see more research and design and all that going into that. Just to be able to have something that's a bit more modular that works. One of the ideas I had was take something like the Google HoloLens and make that to where you could see almost like it could almost do eye tracking, which they can do in a lot of the virtual headsets, to help you kind of guide the direction you want to move the character for people that can't really handle like any kind of controller very well, and have some sort of like the breath apparatus like on the Nintendo hands-free controller to be able to activate certain buttons like jump and stuff like that. And then for people that have more mobility, you could do things like the foot paddles or the hand buttons and stuff like that if they preferred that. But that would give people who are a little bit more paraplegic a little bit finer control over how to do stuff. Yeah. And I think that would be a nice kind of addition and would work for more people than some of the stuff that we have now.
Yeah. And there are a lot of solutions out there for someone who's quadriplegic and it does not have control of their hands to control a standard controller. This has been something in the field of disability and adaptability devices for 5 decades. So there's a lot of research and a lot of work behind this from a lot of different groups. It's just nice to see Sony and Microsoft over the last 5 years or so, and Sony just this year with a universally adaptable controller that works with a lot of externally adapted devices that these other groups, Able Gamers, lots of other groups out there have been making for people with various levels of ability and access to the standard controller. I just think we've kind of gravitated towards this standard controller that thinks like everyone can play this way, and even people without disability can find the standard controller setup a little bit intimidating. I think we've settled on this in the 80s that a controller needs to look this way. It's held in our hand. We're using our thumbs to control everything. And yet, when you look at fighting games, when you look at fighting sticks, that's something that people are tapping with their hands, and they're using a joystick, a joypad, primarily to play those games that way. That's the way that they prefer to engage with them. When you go to an arcade, old arcades in the 70s, you've got, tracker balls, you've got joysticks, you've got throttles, you've got
just straight up buttons.
Controllers, straight up buttons.
Yeah.
You've got toggle sticks, you have the dials that you used to use on all of those systems up until the paddle was just the paddle controller on the Atari, and all of the old systems were paddle control because they designed the controller to the game of Pong and games like that. And I think once Nintendo came out with, we have a system, it excels at scrolling. That's what it really does well. And so games are going to look this particular way. And, they borrowed the D-pad from what their work with the Game & Watch and some of the stuff that they'd seen before. We kind of box gaming into this one direction. And I really think with ColecoVision was probably the last time we had a system that said, okay, we're going to give you a standard controller, but we really do want to build, here's a controller expansion, and here's your steering wheel and your pedals for your racing type games. Here's your joystick. Here's your roller track ball. Here's these expansions that we're going to create, and we're going to create games that are coming from the arcade. So we know there's games that fit into this mold, and we can create games for this. And I really would like to see a system like what you were showing with the interchangeable modules on the controller, a system that embraces there's not just one way to play a game.
Right.
Where are all of the games that are using a visual interface like Amico would do, or the Wii U, or the 3DS, or the DS? Where are the screens on these controllers? Is it only mobile games that we want to develop these games for? Where's the tactile controllers like on the PS4, where you're using touch or mouse controls with keyboards and mice for most of the 80s and 90s? That's how computer games were played. We didn't play on joysticks.
Yeah, and I still do use mouse and keyboard a lot. However, we did have a question on like Neuralink for disabilities. And I don't really know a whole lot about Neuralink to begin with. If you're talking about like basically a neural implant to help them to be able to control things, I think that's going to work, but that's not going to work for a full population because you're still going to have people that's brain synapses and the way that their brain operates is not going to work well with those kinds of interfaces. I think it's better than not trying it for those people that it would work for. But I say that with anything in the accessibility space, the more unique ideas you put out there, the more chances you're going to find somebody that this is exactly what they need. Yeah. But the problem is you have to make it to a better price point. What we have now is we have a lot of accessibility controllers like the Microsoft one, which is great. Base unit's minimum $100. And then by the time you get done adding all the accessories, you've got an arcade stick or more in price range on your hands. You're looking like 400 plus sometimes on this. And
insurance or Medicaid or Medicare will cover some of those costs if it is used for quality of life outcomes for the individual. Right. So then they'll cover some of that cost. But I mean, if it's just for general access to gaming, then that person has to be receiving a set of services that they can bake into the services they're receiving. Part of their outcome might be more inclusivity, gaming with friends, and this is part of their goals and something that Medicaid dollars might support for them. And that's a part that needs to be considered, that this whole segment of the population that has these needs for something like neural net. And with AI, you can actually do a lot of real-time evaluation of that data of what works and what doesn't work for the individual, and maybe adapt on the fly with what they're doing, what they're trying to do. So it's an interesting frontier.
The motion bar tech, the one that's up now, that's actually kind of an interesting idea as well, as being able to expand on that technology. There's a lot of areas that really need more investigation in the arena of accessibility in general. And like we said before, the cost needs to come down, because for a lot of people that struggle with a lot of the limitations that would keep them from being able to use a controller normally, they have much bigger problems and expenses than a game controller to deal with.
Yes.
They have major mobility issues, like if they need like specialized wheelchairs or specialized devices for being able to even just move around or do anything specific. If they have a 2-story house, sometimes they need a specialized chair that takes them to the second floor. You've got all various different people that have to come in and help them with basic needs and stuff like that they just can't do on their own. So charging somebody $400, $500, $600, $700 for a controller is obscene, is the kindest word I can think of for somebody that's already struggling with so many different things like that.
It always comes
it's a lot of money when you're already shelling out all this other money for all this other stuff that you have to try to live a normal life. It's not, this stuff's not cheap.
There's a charity that runs, I think it's in February. They do an annual fundraiser for individuals with disabilities, and I think it's called Special Effect, and they work with able gamers, and they raise funds to be able to buy adaptive equipment and specially build adaptable equipment for people with disabilities, just like, you know, this PlayStation controller, just like the Xbox disability controller, or, you know, these sorts of controllers for people with accessibility needs. So keep an eye out for that if you know it's something of interest. Definitely a good cause.
That is cool, and if it can help someone, like you said, quality of life, really. That's why, like, I wish like insurance companies would, you know, because
we all want to play games.
That's just something that you just really need. You need that, you know, like someone sitting there that can't. Like someone was saying earlier, kind of like Stephen Hawking's had a thing for his eyes, like where his eyes would look, it would like move like a cursor, and
eye tracking.
I think, when it comes to that type of stuff, like I just wish, like I would hope more insurance companies would help out with that, because, like, you know, things are expensive. You know, people are diabetic trying to get insulin, or it's super expensive for trying to get certain medications that might not be fully covered. Like I don't know.
They do. It's just the way insurance works. It's for the medical expenses, and it's not necessarily for quality of life. So that it has to be. There's grants that will be addressed specifically for, you know, more community-based inclusion and
take care
recreational activities and quality of life improvements for individuals. But a lot of this money is based around medical, so a lot of the uses tend to be more towards you know, adaptability and living adaptive living skills that an individual might need help with.
That's cool. Well, anyways, we're at the end of the poll. By the way, Genesis killed it at almost 50%.
I'm not really surprised. That's a really good looking console,
dude. This original 16-bit dome Genesis, that thing's awesome. I would have. That's what I would have voted if I was able to as well. What you got coming up, Nick, on either channel?
I launched a few videos.
Shalom, Indy.
I did one on kind of the beginnings of Battle Royale. That one came out on Monday. I did one on Bleem that came out today. I'm going to be shedding subscribers on that one. And I'm kind of working on one on like fighting games.
I don't even have that.
I want to do evolution of fighting games. So the idea behind that is to go from like kind of like the very conceptual basic, like here's the first kind of boxing game, all the way through where various different like parts of fighting games that we know today kind of came in, just kind of through the years, right? And it all kind of got started because somebody asked me to kind of go into how Street Fighter 2 influenced fighting games, and I'm like, well, I like that, but I think I'd rather approach it from this angle because it makes more historical sense.
That's awesome, dude. I can't wait to see that.
So that one should be fun. I've got like one more piece I want to write up on that. And then it's going to take a long time because there's a lot of different games involved in this, because there's like tons of stuff that just kind of came out of the woodwork when I'm talking about various different mechanics and add-ins and when they first came out and to how we know them now, that I'm kind of like, oh, crap. What did I get myself into? So that's a thing. And lots of various different things. I don't know. I've been struggling to kind of get focused into content lately, so things may be slow for a bit too, as I try to like regain focus and things of that nature. Because there's been, and it's just stuff going on. That's all.
Hey, man, life. That's how life is, man. I totally understand.
Take it from me, there are more important things in life than putting out regular content.
That's what we needed on that moment.
we needed a little bit of that. We need a little bit of that.
That needs to go into Ultimate Game Room.
I appreciate that, Sneed. Thanks to everyone. We are still waiting on Amico news. I know everybody wants to hear something. We do too. You'll hear it here first. I guarantee it. I just have not had anything. That's what we're waiting on. We're waiting.
Maybe you won't. I don't know. There's some people that focus on this way more than I do.
More than we do, to be honest.
I wait for some sort of official statement. I'm like, I have news.
When I knew that there was this personal issue with the CEO, I gave him space. So I'm not knocking on his DMs every week. Like, what's the latest news? Just something personal in your life. Like that happen, I'm going to try and be a good fellow human and give you time. And
100%.
You know, I feel we should hear something soon, but you know, I can reach out to people and
what you got going on in your channel, Rob?
We'll hear some soon. I actually got to work on video for about 10 hours this last week, so I was pretty proud of myself. I don't know how many more hours I still have in it. I don't even want to guess. It just keeps growing and growing, but there's 10 hours more of work that I was able to do this last week.
You're going to get this thing out one year, and I'm going to be like, why do I have a 30-hour?
It's going to be like season.
We're going to have 30. It's not 30 hour. No, but the whole series is up to about 12. So, and it's it's going to grow longer. But it's all one.
There's nothing wrong with that, so long as you set it up in parts that people can sit down and consume.
There is something wrong with it because the whole first episode, like I bring up games a couple of times, but the first episode has almost nothing to do with games. It's just kind of set up, and then the second episode a little bit, but it's like very small touches. So,
dude, I've had videos. Like
I'm gonna alienate
to get to
the whole
actual
audience
topic because you got to talk about everything before.
The concept of cat spiders and the domestication of cats back in like ancient Egypt, that would be like an hour of my episode.
Yes. Cat influence on modern video games. See, that's a collaborative topic we need to go into.
Yes, we do. We've got to set up some time.
So we'll see you back next week. Please, if you do have any rarities to show, some rare games or your collection or some cool setups in your game room, email djcgamestudios@gmail.com, and we'll be happy to show them on the next week's show. Until then, I appreciate you hanging out with us, being civil in chat, and keeping it drama free. Thank you so much, and we will see you next week. Take care.